Microsoft comes charging right out of the gate with some pretty heavy-duty content for this, our very first objective and module titled Deploy and Manage Server Images. What we're talking about here is predominantly the Windows Deployment Services solution that's built into Windows Server 2012 and R2. WDS has been around for a very long time, and for many people, WDS is kind of like the Microsoft version of the old Ghost tool. Now, one of the interesting things about deploying and managing server images is that WDS is kind of the centerpiece of a variety of different technologies that you can assemble together to create this automated deployment solution or this automated deployment environment that is the topic of this objective. And later on, if you should choose to go down the path of the MCSE desktop and apps, is the topic of what is really one of the two full exams that make up that certification. And so, as you can imagine, all the art and science associated with automated desktop deployment is something that can consume a lot of time. In fact, here at Pluralsight, I think we have a variety of different courses that we've built already that dig deeply into the different technologies making up automated desktop deployment. For our purposes here, however, we want to try to focus in on the specific tasks that the 411 asks us to know. The first of which is to install the WDS role, which this is far more than just clicking through in Server Manager to install the role. The installation of WDS in a way that will actually makes it work requires quite a bit more effort. And so we'll talk about how to install WDS. We'll also talk about that initial configuration, as well as some of the PXE stuff, the PXE stuff that you have to set up that connects WDS with your DHCP services as well. We'll talk also about configuring and managing your boot, install, and to a lesser extent, your Discover images. These are the different kinds of images that WDS could potentially use for booting a machine, for installing an operating system. Now, you can't talk about installing the Windows operating system without talking about all the different driver groups and packages that you would want to install over the top. The Windows operating system, as you probably already know, includes a variety of just out-of-the-box driver sets that can be used to bootstrap an operating system into existence. But for most of us, we have specific manufacturer-oriented drivers that we need to get installed onto that machine for it to really be usable by the user. And so here in WDS, we have the abilities to automatically install drivers as part of the OS installation. This should sort of immediately get you a little excited because that process of installing drivers onto each individual machine is one that just takes a long period of time. And so with a little bit of trickery, we can here in WDS create these driver groups and driver packages that will automatically shove drivers into that operating system as it's deployed. The same thing holds true with patches, hotfixes, and other kinds of drivers. You can, using the correct tools, which we'll talk about here in this module, update your images with additional patches and hotfixes and so on. These will facilitate the abilities to have a much more completed OS instance at the moment it's deployed than what you would get by just installing the operating system off the DVD media. There are a couple tricks here using the dism command that we can use for injecting these in. The same dism command can be used for installing features in an offline image. That gives you the ability to, again, install more of the finished product onto your operating system as you go through that OS installation.